Hello, good morning or good afternoon for our APA colleagues. Thank you for joining this masterclass. And first of all, I would like to thank the InnoFac show organization for allowing me here to present some interesting content on the rethinking the operating model and growth strategy. Before we start, I will just drive you a little bit on a short presentation of who I am. I've always considered myself a global citizen, born from parents of two different nationalities, so exposed to different cultures and way of living. Studied in Italy at the alma mater Bologna, in Bologna, Italy, which is the one of the oldest universities in the world. And then after a period of working, went back to school to specialize in the hospitality industry. After that, I joined Starwood for 3 years in Brussels, where I'm based also today. And then passed through the hotel operations for a couple of years again at the Radisson Blue Royal Hotel Brussels, which now was converted in our new expansion plan as a Radisson Collection Grand Plus in Brussels. So if you pass by Brussels, you know the destination to check. And then now it's about 3 years that I'm sitting at the corporate office as corporate director of operations for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Said this, let's see a little bit and describe with some key points the hospitality industry before we go a little bit deeper in the operating model and some of the key points for the growth strategy for the future, in our opinion. Let's remember that the hospitality industry prior to pandemic was representing between 10 and 15% of the world GDP. So quite important segment for the overall industry and for many national economies. It was about 8.8 trillion of US dollars with a year-on-year growth of 4%. As we were mentioning, one of the pillars of most socioeconomic activities for many national economies, and a pool of about 320 million of jobs worldwide. And I think this is also a subject that all of us as hoteliers in these days were being confronted with, meaning not only the fact of having a slow ramp up to go back to normal business and to the 2019 levels, but also now to recruit and find new talents that want to come back to work to the hospitality industry. Said this, I took this image as well of the worker world because it represents really clearly, in my opinion, one side and the other side of the apple, and also makes us understand how flexible we need to be in today's world, also looking then at the operating model. We have 5 generations on the active consumers, and we can see it also from the other side. We have also 5 generations on the workplace. So also our management style based on the operating model needs to adapt based on situational leadership on the different generations. We're seeing more and more, and I think pandemic has increasingly pushed implementation in the industry of any digital tool and transformation, both from a front end, meaning guest-facing experience, and from a back end. Because let's remember that any request of the guest is only fulfilled when there is an operating model that is enabling our team members to deliver the promise that we're doing to our guests and customers. Out of this, what is important is that between the online check-in and digital check-in or kiosk, call it however you want, we're still seeing a big preference, about 80% of these 6 out of 10, which are more keen for the online check-in, and we have a 40% which is more keen to the kiosk. Let's be honest as well that we see it, there's still an important 40% of guests and customers that are actually willing to have the traditional check-in, which is not something that technology will take away, will just change and reshape the figure and the profile and the persona of our team members from that side. We have, as we were mentioning before, a split of 50-50 guests that want to interact with robots. We all have seen today many rooms or hotels. One of us is in Zurich in particular, which is using robots for cleaning of public spaces, for delivering room service, for delivering many of the activities that can be repetitive and can add a touch of sweat. There is still a 50% that it has the vision of a human relationship, and that's also important going forward. As we're mentioning, 4th generation on the workforce, 70 to 75% is the average turnover rate, and 39 of the employers, and that's what probably is the most worrying, leave their job in their first 90 days. And this is data from the WTTC and WTO. What is also many times one of the reasons why the employees are leaving in our industry is also due to the complex IT systems. Systems are extremely peculiar to the hospitality industry, and that is also not working in our favor many times from the employer branding perspective to make us on an industry so attractive. Just to give a small insight, this is a study that was presented by HBR a couple years ago in 2016, and it's just to mark again what I was mentioning also before related to the complex IT system. It's also bringing, and it's also stopping, if you want, a transformation from the digital perspective in the hospitality industry. As you can see, hospitality is right at the bottom, where you can see the red star. Worse than us, there is only constructions and agriculture and hunting. So I think that is also giving us a huge opportunity to move forward. Also considering that today, most of the mature markets, of course, in the emerging market, there is a situation that is quite different. The labor dimension today is representing about 50% of our cost. Okay, so it's absolutely necessary to not only focus on that 50% of resources, which is the most important, but also enabling them to simplify their job and free time to dedicate to the guest. Because at the end of the day, the guest is one of our three pillars that we will discuss later. Said this, we will now focus a little bit on rethinking the operating model. This is one of the key visions that we had when we wrote at Radisson our 5-year plan. And we said, okay, let's keep it simple. Let's find really what are the key pillars of moving forward. And then, of course, with the COVID crisis, a lot of these initiatives have been seen an amazing acceleration to be implemented for a need and also for a market situation I was mentioning today regarding the recruitment and attractions of new talents. So going in the Mayan aspects to consider in any, but in our particular business, we need to focus on our team. We were saying before, it's 50% of our resources. And I'm sure that most of you are still seeing a lot of paper and a lot of manual tasks, administrative tasks. During a check-in, many times we have our associates or team members that are looking more at the screen, fulfilling certain tasks more than actually engaging with the guests or giving to the guests an advice or a direction of where's the best restaurant around, or how to create an experience for them. So we want to focus on the teams in particular to make them feel at ease at work, to make their life as simple as possible, not giving or not trading off with compliance and with following the right processes. Second point, mobile first. Of course, we think that is important as a uniform. As traditional hoteliers, a lot of us were saying, no, the phone of the employee or the phone the duty phone needs to stay hidden. You need to just take it in case of emergency. No, the mobile today is so important in the day-to-day life, also personal life, that we can imagine how can be applied also in hospitality, as many other industries have already done in the past years. We want to look, and this is also an enabler, is a technological system, is we want to work from a time-based program or model to a task-based model. And of course, that is also looking to improve the flexibility with clusters, teams, or operating teams on destinations which have more than one hotel that can rotate and can, of course, also adapt and be flexible enough to cover different operations in the different areas of the hotel. That may be F&B or rooms or the spa. We go back as well to technology as an overall. There are some core systems that we believe are the backbone, and then we have a lot of front systems as well. But together with that, there are a lot of processes that can be looked in depth and actually work with RPAs, AI, and IoTs to improve and to avoid any repetitive tasks that can be also sometimes counterproductive from the retaining perspective of our talents. And last but not least, of course, revisit the customer journey and the persona of your guest. And there we're going to see how the CRM is absolutely key to make this happen, and not a CRM only B2B, but also more and more a CRM, which is B2C, guest profiling, get really on enhancing the ancillary potential for any activity towards our loyalty guests at first, and then all our guests, of course. Going a little bit deep on looking why we say focusing on operations, of course, is 50% of our resources. There is a huge value to unlock, especially on delivering the promise and creating memorable moments where the guests are staying with us. We want to take absolutely out all the paperwork and independent files that are the norm. A couple of years ago, we introduced one of our planning tools, which is now present in almost 300 of our hotels, at least in EMEA, and coming also to the APAC theater by the end of the year. And we calculated that only by saving the printout that was coming from reception for the housekeeping cleaning, we were saving about 23s per year. And here it's just an application to one simple process, that is what the night team does when they print a report for housekeeping and they dispatch it based on the cleaning team that they have in operation. So that is only one. Multiply that also not only from the paper perspective, but ink, maintenance for the printers, and so on. So and we believe a lot on these marginal gains. That's also extremely important for the operations. Every marginal gain, that every 0.1% of improvement in the process adds up to get directly to your bottom line and to your GOP. And then again, we need to trust more with flat structures, our teams trying really to relook or re-see the role of supervisors, and understanding as well that a lot of the task can be more lean if there is a simplified planning. Doesn't mean that they don't need to be there, but it's just really reshaping the role and responsibilities of this profile. On the right, you really see something that Cisco analyzed a couple of years ago on which are the key pillars, both for our employees and for our guests, on how to create value for them. And of course, the sustainability, we all are speaking and hearing a lot of it, and thank God we're doing many efforts on that direction. Supply chain, that's also a subject on the global market today, extremely sensitive, because we all know the big issues that we're having on the supply chain globally. The guest experience, that's key, both for the guest and also for the team member. They feel really fulfilled when there is a smile or a sign of satisfaction from a guest. And of course, the staff productivity that can be intended, of course, in two ways. From one side could be as a corporate or an operation trying to maximize the efficiencies. On the other side can be also on how we can ease their life with a check-in, check-out optimization, freeing up again all the space, all the time from our receptionists to actually focus on the guest. The e-concierge, to have a more personalized service that can be also balanced with a standardized approach, and of course planning tools, as we were mentioning before. Going to the second point is mobile first. You know, we always see, and you see the picture over there, that's something that when we go around many hotels we try to introduce as a joke, meaning that most of our team members are using in their private life WhatsApp for communication, or Facebook, the Google Docs for the docu sharing, or many others like Dropbox and so on. They have a task sharing app, they have a purchase order, and they have a recruitment, has Tinder. Well, it's exactly the same thing on the workplace. We want to have tools that are enabling the teams with the internal communication, with the sensitive and important corporate documents, and so the docu sharing, that can dispatch also in an automatized way through RPIs many of the tasks, and in particular then that with one click or a couple of clicks can manage their COGS and of course their recruitment process. And those are all areas of focus that we have already implemented in Radisson, exactly to look also to the well-being of our teams. The mobile needs to allow, of course, the employees to take out totally the vision of having a back office. Today, we still have many hotels where the back office is composed of a lot of square meters and a lot of office space that could be converted in other revenue opportunities. So enabling mobile means also bringing our teams to the front and bringing our teams to engage with the guests, and bringing our teams that with a click can enable a delivery of a task, a creation of an experience, and so on. And then we see more and more the new generation as well getting able to interact both with guests and between them in a more agile way, and that's absolutely key in our opinion. So as we will have the pin, as we will have the name tag, we will have a mobile phone or even an Apple Watch. That's what we are testing right now to actually help our team members to go in the right place at the right moment. So as we were saying before, going from a time-based to a task-based scenario. The hotel industry, of course, as we all know, is extremely traditional as well in the way is organized, departmental. Many times it looks almost like a structure of the military. So you start from the general and then you go down. Well, that's also killing flexibility, but killing the cooperation and cohesion of actually delivering as a team and breaking the boundaries, which is something that also the new generation are extremely attracted on the workplace. Breaking the functions is today it can be an easy task. So we need to really use the technology also to enable the fact of attracting talents that don't come purely from the hospitality industry. And of course, having a task-based planning will allow us more to plan the time of our team members to increase their satisfaction at work. And again, you see that the points that I'm repeating many times are, of course, the owner, the guest, and the team members, and we're going to see why I would think that these three pillars are also one of the growth pillars. When the guest is in front, all the attention needs to be to the guest. So we don't need to actually, as we were mentioning before, focusing at the POS machine, focusing at the computer, we need to give attention to the guest. We then need to enable any request or any task through a mobile channel to really increase the speed and the precision of delivery. Then we go back on how to move as well from a task-based, from a time-based to a task-based. Of course, is the technology that needs to help you. We measured empirically a couple of months ago in an exercise that we did on a lean review of one of hotels that our GMs in many cases are faced with 584 tasks per month that could be easily taken from an RPA, from a basic artificial intelligence. We're not talking about rocket science, from any Internet of the Thing. And of course, as we were mentioning, the CRM integration, that will be also the link to our next pillar of the operating model, meaning the CRM and the personalization. There is a lot that can be done and can be standardized with RPAs. Simple example, process of payroll that needs to go from the payroll external company back to the GM, back to the financial controller to actually get a signature, to get the approval, pay the pay slips. If all the verification is done correctly by an RPI, we can spot the differences, and we do not need to focus on putting in place a control that is not adding any value to the daily activity of a GM or of an HOD. And again, artificial intelligence, we're seeing chatbots everywhere coming up, most of them machine learning. There's some amazing products on the road. And again, the chatbot is nice from a guest perspective. We're also working on delivering one for our employees to really have a one-stop shop, but it's also important not only the capability of dialogue and conversation, which now with the COVID has accelerated through the digital conversation, also through chatbot, but it's also how we link it to the planning tool and to the delivery of the operational promise. And then Internet of Things, that's now also another big subject, considering the global increase of cost of energy. So it's really taking a big spin, and of course also to more OpEx like the linen with RFID tags. That's also important. So you see, technology can have many adaptation, and each point has a marginal gain on the overall profitability of the company, and that's where the two main objectives of our operating model are based on profitability and quality. When we talk about quality, for sure, a huge enabler is the CRM. So we need to be honest with ourselves. Today, we impose to the guests the flows that they do not want. Nobody wants to be in line, and you see the picture on the top waiting for a check-in or a check-out. there is both, I need to say and be honest, from the side of the guest and the side of the team members, a lack of trust of the systems. So many times we see from many feedback sessions that the guests are giving us is like, we don't trust that the billing will be correct. We don't trust that we need to follow up. So that is where the CRM comes extremely importantly, because if all the data of the guest is correct, if all the automation is done in the right way, the possibility of errors or mistakes will decrease significantly, and it will of course enhance the guest experience. So let's think on how many actions we need to do many times in the hotels because we have a legacy of technology frames that actually are then bringing operational processes that are not helping to achieve our main objective. We want to make more and more bringing this leverage of quality and technology, the possibility to be standardized as much as possible. I mean, every guest that will go to any Radisson hotel will have a consistent experience based on the brand that they have chosen. And of course, then also focus on how we can personalize and anticipate. And again, CRM and guest profiling is absolutely amazing. This is also to review and to reseed the new persona that we need to look at. So we need to also understanding the clients that we have, understand that we may need to have other profiles that don't need to be, again, stiff to the departmental role in the hospitality, but can be more somebody that comes, for example, from a luxury shop. Why not? We can have a salesperson from an Armani shop or from a Gucci shop working in our hotels. The big barrier we always had in the past were the PMS system. If you don't know how to use the PMS, you cannot work in hospitality. Well, it's not really like that. So, and of course, then all the integration between CRM and AI are key to really personalize and be integrated, as I was mentioning, with the planning tool to deliver the promise. Last couple slides, and I think we're right on time. What we believe on focusing on growth, the three key pillars, if you want to be in today's world one of the top players, it's a simple but extremely complex rule. Focus on your guest, because when they think about your brand, they need to think that is the place they want to be. We need to focus on our investors and owners, because that are the key stakeholders of our business. And last but not least, focus on your team members. And I think the three of them are extremely related one to the other. And I always may sound repetitive, may sound simple, but it's really the key to success. Take care of your three pillars. Just 1 second. Oh, sorry. There we go. Relooking a little bit also at the pillars that we believe are key for a solid strategy. We need to go back to understand that we need to be true operators. And what I mean true operators means operators that are looking at the interests of our teams, of our owners and our guests, but also looking at the overall profitability of your company, because that's also important to keep the investments and the growth development plan on the right track. Have a global portfolio of brands, diversified, but not too wide, understanding which are the important segments and niche you want to be in, and focus on that also geographically, understanding which are the best brands that can go in the right markets. Having a huge focus today, and that's where technology, I think, in the industry was extremely developed in the past, on the revenue optimization. The fourth point, of course, is the information technology transformation we talked about briefly. We have a complex IT environment. We have decided to go out of the traditional system environment, have invested in the past 2 years to create our own total management system, replacing PMS and POS. And of course, that's our backbone. That's our really heart of the business. And to that, we attach then as a brain and activators of this core system, many plugins with many startups are helping us to develop a customized product, both for our guests and for our team members. The commercial drivers need to be powerful. And when we say powerful, again, the digital focus you need to have and a clear global strategy from the commercial is absolutely key. Understanding also the diversification of the distribution channel, being pragmatic and approachable. So we are there to really also with our Radisson Collection brand think that there is an affordable luxury, there is an affordable mid-scale that can give the experience of a high scale. And last but not least, have a new franchise value proposition. I think in the past, we have worked with many international management agreements that were quite static in the way that they were interpreted both from the owners and from the franchisee companies. And I think that's where we need to look more and more to other industries, as for example, the food industry, on more, if you want to call it, franchise contracts. So let's define it this, where the operating model is key, meaning we believe as Radisson that our operating model is successful because we have tested in our leased and owned properties. So trust us as an owner to achieve those objectives. And just to give the key of what is the enabler of the operating model to arrive and to focus on the growth of the company, revenues always there. Of course, the profitability and the quality needs to be the starting point, and then focusing on how we can optimize revenue. There as well, a lot of technology is involved. Brilliant basics, understand simple things that can be of impact of your guest. And in our case, we really focused on the rain shower more than a set of amenities that is of an extremely high quality. So set simple, brilliant basics that your guests are sharing with you, and voice of the customer is key in that sense when you do the planning of your brilliant basics. Focus on the service experience and delivery, and always care of the assets that you manage, because that's also improving the relationship with owners, trust, transparency, and makes them perceive that you are the operator they want to work with. And in the bottom line, as we were mentioning before, there are a lot of quick wins and marginal gains that will have an impact and a huge impact on your profitability. There is a huge need of sharing best practices across geographies. We hear many times the story, no, what happens in Germany is not the same of what happens in Vietnam. Well, yes, but no. Many of the processes, we still see them in a similar way with similar steps. It may change the modus operandi, but the input and the output many times are exactly the same. So this network needs to enhance this kind of sharing across many geographies, understanding that we are global but local. The variable cost model is key. We have seen it now with the COVID. I think what made our company strong and what will always stay for the future is having as much as possible a variable and agile cost structure. We have seen now, I think, levels that we have never seen before, and we hopefully will never see before, but is actually giving us a huge opportunity to understand what is the baseline on what our hotel or our profitability cannot go lower. So really squeezing as much as possible the variable cost and adding variable costs versus the fixed costs. So that's also strategically something that we will always need to keep up front. And then support function optimization. We have many of the tasks, as we were mentioning before, processes or also figures that are still in the hotel and could be and can be and are being centralized. So all these enablers on the top line and bottom line are then what are bringing back our profitability. Just to close, and this is my last slide, like as we leave the floor for a couple questions. This is the mantra really for the future of hospitality, but many consumer-oriented businesses. Be flexible. And now more than ever, we came out with an amazing, showing an amazing flexibility and agility in the things we do. And of course, we always need to be ready to adapt to any resource of revenue fluctuation. Have a mentality of the continuous improvement. Many times this also from a system perspective, so from a process perspective, let's be humble enough and honest enough that we are happy on launching an MVP, so a minimum valuable product in the market or in the process or in our industry, and then have a continuous improvement mentality on saying, okay, we did a mistake, we will fix it and we'll move forward. And this aggregation then of small improvements will gain to have the best product. Having many times on a quality environment, system tests are not giving you the right output. Many times you need to bring these tools and systems in the real life and understand that you can work together with the guest and with the business to improve it. Being agile, so you need to be ready to test and implement innovative solution, and that needs to go as quick as possible. Today, we're looking on between RFI, pilot, and rollout in the big majority of our portfolio of hotels, between 6 and 18 months for a tool. So this is the agility that we need to give, but the agility as well that we need to give to our teams to use these tools and the support from that part. And the focus always needs to stay on the guests. So experience driven. They are the ones that are many times I say to our teams, paying our salary. So we need to be extremely focused on that. We need to focus more and more on the ancillary opportunities that we have in front of us for the future, and as well on how to work together in many verticals of the travel and tourism industry to deliver and to create a seamless as possible journey for our guests that may go from the airport to the customer authorities, to the hotel, and then go back to their home. So those are the key pillars that we think we need to focus to have a clear growth strategy for the future. And said that, I just close with a small slide. Really, thank you very much to Inofac and to all you. And I'm happy now I saw a couple of questions, so I will try to answer to them. What I just close is that the secret is not to do more, but is to create content that matters for, again, our owners, our guests, and our team members. So that's all from my side. I saw that there was a question: what are the limitations and challenges of adopting new working operational model? Well, if I may, I'm sure that many of us, many times the hospitality, the challenge is ourselves, meaning that we're seeing that the biggest effort that we need to do is training, is learning and development, based on not only the content-based training, but also focusing on the behavior training. And many times we're seeing that an activation on property set with a small group of what we have defined, for example, in our company as a SWAT team, is really the enabler to push this change. So we believe strongly that digital learning is there, and it's an amazing tool to support the hotels, but still there is a need to go there physical, interact with the teams, do a couple tryouts, and especially trying to talk and have an open dialogue as much as possible, explaining what are the benefits. And of course, listening. Listening means as well understanding what are the needs of our teams, and understanding that our vision, our plan can be adapted, it can be reshaped based on feedback that is coming from the team. So I would say that is the biggest challenge is there, is really resetting our mentality and approaching as hoteliers a new way of working going forward. So I hope I answered your question on what are the challenges that we are seeing. If not, I don't know if there are any other questions. I would thank again. Okay. So thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and please find me on LinkedIn, and happy to take it over for many other questions. Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure. Thank you to the Inofac Show team.